So sleep and settling for a newborn is really, really difficult for new parents because I think mainly because of the unpredictability of the baby's sleep patterns. The most surprising thing is that babies are party animals at night. They're awake for 2, 3, 4 hours in the middle of the night. They can be very difficult to get back down to sleep. They do like to sleep longer in the middle of the day, so they have to learn how to relax and fall asleep themselves. And it's very difficult for parents who are tired to have the sort of physical and emotional strength to deal all the time with the night waking and the difficulty in getting babies to sleep during the day. When babies are born, they have no concept of the world outside of themselves. They don't know that their parents exist unless they can feel them or hear them or see them or smell them. Those senses are very strong for babies. They will recognize voices. Emotionally, they are very vulnerable. They need predictable, reliable, consistent responses to their cries, and then they learn to trust and they know somebody's out there who's going to meet their needs. So generally, the books will say that a baby needs 16 hours sleep in the 24-hour period. They have a capacity to be awake for about an hour at a time and then they need to go back to sleep again. But if they're awake longer than that, they become overtired and they become overstimulated, and then they can be a lot more difficult. There can be an increase in crying, and it's a learning process for parents, and they get to understand the cues that their baby is giving them. From a breastfeeding point of view, the hormones associated with breastfeeding, there's higher levels of those at night. So from establishing a milk supply point of view, it's very important to have regular feeds at night. And babies are nocturnal by nature. That is, and I think it is partly to do with breastfeeding. They always have a witching hour. There's always an unsettled period every 24 hours for every baby. And in the first 3 weeks of life, unfortunately, it's in the later part of the night and the early hours of the morning. Safe sleeping is very important in protecting children and infants while they're asleep. The recommendations are that a baby is placed on its back to sleep in all cases, that the bed has only got the sheets and blankets and bedclothes that are necessary for the baby, tucked in securely, and no loose pillows or duvets or toys or anything like that, and that it sleeps in its own cot in its parents' room. So babies can cry for any number of reasons, and it's all a learning process for parents in identifying which cry means I'm hungry, which cry means I'm tired. They all sound the same in the beginning, but over time, parents can identify more easily. Certainly remaining calm yourself is part of the equation, because babies will escalate if they feel your levels of anxiety are escalating. And then babies generally love some movement. They love being held, so holding them is very important. They've got some primitive reflexes when they're born. So they've got the startle reflex, whereby they've sort of got no control over their arms and legs and they will fly out. And this can stop them from calming themselves. So wrapping is a good strategy to use. Holding a baby close to you, shushing, patting, rocking, gentle swinging movement. During the day, you can pop the baby in a sling or in the pram and go for a walk. But if you're at home at night, holding it close but in one position rather than changing its position too frequently, and just being rhythmical and consistent in your approach, listening to your baby's cries, and that'll give you an indication over time as to whether your baby is settling or whether it's escalating. The best schedule, I suppose, is to follow your baby. Learn to know your cues, get to know your baby. Respond to their cues for the most part. Babies eventually develop a schedule of their own, and it's over time that they develop that. I suppose it's more important to give predictable cues to the baby, so letting them know that, well, when it's daytime, the curtains are open, the lights are on, there's stuff going on around the house. At nighttime, you keep it a bit more quiet, you don't wake them up so much for feeds, you do what you need to do when they go back to bed. And it's through those kind of patterns and developing that predictability for babies that they learn a schedule. It's a very special time for families when they bring a new baby home, and it's really a privilege to be able to help them to get off to a good start, to getting to know their baby and understand their baby and settle into family life themselves.